Now, we will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. There will be a slide. There will be plenty of time, I'm sure. And what we can do is we can use the chat facility for you to pose up any questions that you may have, that you want to ask at the end. So, okay. Right, let's bring up this. I'm hoping that you can all actually see. There we are. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sandra Gasson. I'm an occupational therapist working for Kent County Council's Autistic Spectrum Conditions team. I've also been leading on the specialist enablement support for people that require occupational therapy. So firstly, maybe a little bit about our team. We work with service users over the age of 18 that do not have a learning disability. They may have other comorbidities such as ADHD, OCD, mental health, anxiety, depression, but they don't generally have a learning disability that's known. If they do have a learning disability, they're normally seen by the local learning disability teams. So we work with individuals, we work with families and carers and other professionals, and also agencies around the identified care and support needs of that individual. So alongside our service users, they live in all types of environments. Some may live independently, some may live with their parents, some may live with carers, others may be in receipt of packages of support, and others may live in alternative environments such as supported living or prisons. So as you can see, we support a variety of people. Now, some people say to me, what is actually occupational therapy? What is an occupational therapist, and what do you do? And I think sometimes it's difficult to explain that, but if you could understand what a physiotherapist does in terms of a physiotherapist might help support somebody to get better through an exercise program as a result of an illness or an injury. An occupational therapist would help people to feel better through the use of activities. Now, activities are everything that we do. They give us a purpose to our day, and they give us structure and routine and reassurance. Now, due to COVID, this has posed its issues for everybody, and in particular for many people that we see who report to us that they're suddenly having a lack of structure and routine, that they can feel socially isolated, that they're missing their friends and their family. They're missing social groups that they may have attended pre-COVID, or their volunteering roles or work roles. They may also be missing their daycare provision that may not have started up again. But in general, they say to us they are not engaging in the activities they did pre-COVID. Now that's given me a keen interest to be able to maybe run this webinar to help support those of you who support people or adults on the autistic spectrum. And primarily this is aimed at those people who do support people on the autistic spectrum. I've had a very keen interest from external agencies outside, and that includes carers, commissioners, clients themselves, support workers, parents, some occupational therapists and occupational therapy assistants working in other fields, and also colleagues from our learning disability services, the Kent Autistic Trust, and also the National Autistic Society. So as previously mentioned, this presentation is being recorded and it will be available afterwards for everybody that is listening in, but also for us to forward that on to those people that couldn't be here with us this morning. So with this being said, we're now going to look a little bit closer at the presentation and our objectives for today. So our objectives are to explore the opportunities to support autistic adults to increase their life skills and well-being during COVID, and also to explore the enabling approaches which encourage individuals to be self-managing. Now, much of our work is evidence-based, and for those of you who may be interested, our research is available via our own publication, Autism and Enablement, and this is also referenced at the end of this presentation. Now, there are many frameworks for supporting autistic people. SPELL was developed by the National Autistic Society, and it's a framework we work within, and it's based around 5 key pillars. Structure is really important in making the world predictable and manageable. Positive approaches and expectations as a way of building people's strengths. Empathy for a way a person with autism perceives their world, so that the things that they find positive can be focused on, and the things that they find distressing can be avoided. Low arousal approaches, both in the sensory and the interactional sense, and links with family and supporters to ensure consistency and predictability into how people are supported. So SPELL really stresses the individuality of each person with autism as a basis for all interventions with them. And we very much work, as I say, within this framework, keeping the person in the centre of everything that we do. So staying well during COVID, we know that so many people's routine and structure has been really impacted by COVID. And this really does include not only ourselves, but also the people we're supporting with autism. Many people have not been any longer able to go to college or, as we said before, volunteer or attend their social groups and meet up with family and friends and so forth. And suddenly they may have a lot of time on their hands, which has really been difficult for them to fill with meaningful activities. And we have seen within our team people having an increase in their anxiety and depression as a direct result. So routines are best to include a variety of activities that include learning, being creative, being physical, and also factoring time to relax. As we know as occupational therapists, having a balance of activities does promote health and well-being. So for many of us, COVID has changed the way that we are living, the way that we're working, certainly for us within our team. But it's also created opportunities for us to promote the development of life skills within the home for those people that we are supporting. So for people that we are supporting, now is the perfect time to master some of those life skills and a way to involve other members of the family to practice those skills. For example, if we were planning on cooking or preparing a meal or a snack, we could learn maybe to do the laundry, and that would involve changing bed sheets and remaking a bed. It might even involve doing personal care tasks, such as shaving, where another member of the family can be a really good role model. It also provides us with opportunities to spend valuable time with those people we live with and engage in activities together. And we could be doing such as gardening tasks, growing fruit, vegetables, feeding our animals, or even doing crosswords together, or or learning together how to use a piece of technology. Um, we could be playing board games. There's so many activities which are all really wonderful ways to keep our families socially connected, but also to increase that person's social skills, their confidence, and greater levels of independence. As I've just mentioned, it's an absolute ideal way and an ideal time for us to utilize technology. Now, while technology can be difficult for some people to use, it's becoming a way of the world in which we live. For example, our Alexa and Google devices, they play our music, they order our shopping, and they also provide us with information just by asking a question. We've also found lots of apps that we can download onto our phones and our tablets. And much of this presentation will focus on how we can utilise technology alongside other strategies to promote the health and the well-being, not only during the COVID period, but beyond. So what is health? Well, as all human beings, we all need activities to survive and flourish. Our lives revolve around the activities that we want to do, we need to do, or we're expected to do. And these can be personal care activities, domestic tasks, leisure or work activities. COVID has impacted on many of the activities that we were doing prior to lockdown. However, it is important for us to remain healthy, both mentally and physically. So, how balanced are your activities? As previously mentioned, one of the things that we do as occupational therapists is to look at the current activities a person is engaging in, what activities they may have done in the past, and what activities they may wish to do in the future. We're interested in finding out about what activities are important and meaningful to that individual and supporting them to have a balance of activities and overcome the barriers that have stopped them from engaging in such activities. This slide shows a balanced wheel incorporating physical, social, mental, and emotional activities. Many individuals we see have an imbalance of activities. This slide shows the importance of having balanced wheels, as we know that having a balance of activities creates greater health and well-being, and it enables us to move along with our lives. This slide is an opportunity that could be an exercise that you could do with those people you are supporting, looking at all of the opportunities that you could have to create a better life balance, discussing with that person how you could look at ways of working together towards having a greater balance. Now you will see some key points on the slide which could guide you as a starting point. Establishing routines. Now, this is one of the biggest things that we need to be able to do, not only for ourselves, but also for those people we support. Now, everybody's routine will be individual to them, and the way that they go about their day. Our research suggests that many of the individuals we support benefit from visual structured routines and visual prompts that support learning of new tasks. This slide and the next slide represents a variety of routines in different formats that support people to do the things they want, need, or are expected to do. Some individuals may like to see a written schedule on a whiteboard. Others may prefer to utilise their mobile phone, while others may like to see it pictorially. We tend to show people a variety of schedules and see how they like their information presented. This next slide I thought was good fun. Many individuals that we support are really, really keen to learn life skills. And throughout our research, that was really interesting, that they wanted to hone in on daily living skills within the home. And many people reported that they wanted to do this in preparation for maybe moving out and onto maybe university, or out of the family home to live in another accommodation, or just really to increase their greater levels of independence. I found this fun 30-day life skill challenge, although some of these skills are definitely related to the younger audience, but this could be adapted to look at activities that that individual wishes to do in line with their will and those that are supporting that person, as a really good, fun idea and a way to explore such activities. This slide looks at further opportunities for you to do activities with your family, but also with maybe external support that promote mental well-being. If anybody is on Twitter, there is, I'm told, a very good link for you to explore in the top right-hand corner. Now, with many of us having to spend more time at home, whether that's working or just being at home, whether we're furloughed, it's a really good, ideal opportunity to schedule in some time to spend with each other. For example, scheduling in an evening to cook together. It could be maybe cooking a pizza from scratch. And if you just stop and think about the skills involved in just that activity, you would have to plan the shopping list, go and get that shopping. You would be chopping, you'd be spreading, you'd be selecting ingredients, you'd be tasting, you'd be cutting, you'd be interacting, you'd be increasing your social skills. The list just goes on and on. This could also be achieved through WhatsApp or FaceTime when working with a person remotely. And this has been very much part of the work that we are currently doing with some of our clients. Now, one of the greatest opportunities that we have had while supporting autistic people is to utilise technology that they may already have at home, such as the Alexa, the Google's devices, their tablets, their mobile phones. And often our people have very good knowledge, technical knowledge and skills in this area. In fact, many have supported us to learn about such devices. For example, the Alexa can provide a variety of prompts. Sean, we were working with, used his Alexa in the mornings to identify the weather, so he was aware of what clothes he needed to wear without having his mum having to tell him or remind him to take his coat. Tina used Alexa to plan her shopping lists, whilst Mark wanted to see recipes on Alexa that he would be cooking for the day. And Simon used to play lots of Pokemon card games and enjoyed ordering these cards on Amazon. So he would check with Alexa when his Amazon's parcels were going to be delivered, as he would really find it stressful not knowing and would pace up and down. So just by asking this question and factoring this into his routines, he could focus on his day and know when his cards were arriving. While Mohammed is linking in with his grandparents through using his tablet to chat with them while they're shielding, just to make sure that they are okay. He misses his regular contacts with his grandparents. And whilst we also have Terry, who is utilising technology to do his own YouTube channels to support his own clients in the music world. And although these are not the clients' real names, I believe that Terry may be listening in. So our next slide is going to look at the different apps that can enable and empower greater levels of independence and inclusion. There's so many apps out there that can support us with activities of daily living. For example, they can support us with our daily living skills, banking, shopping, the news and current affairs, traveling, cooking, the weather, and our general health and well-being. Now, we've been really keen to explore apps that can support people with autism to be more in control of their lives, with a focus on them better managing the impact of their autism, for example, their anxiety and their mental health, and to engage in activities that they want to do, they need to do, or they are expected to do. Now, many of our clients can have difficulties with prioritizing tasks, planning and sequencing. They need personal reminders. They struggle to establish routines and structure, and some struggle with time concept. Now, Orca is the world's leading health app evaluation and advisor organisation. They help governments, health and social care organisations to choose and deliver health apps. We've been really keen to explore apps that have been evaluated with autistic people. Now, there is a website at the bottom of the slide if you wish to explore Orca further and look up any particular apps that could pertain to certain conditions. This next slide is another variety of apps that I found. As we know, there are so many out there that have been developed over the recent years to support both children and adults with an autistic spectrum disorder. And this wheel is version 5 that's been developed by Mark Coppin. Now, we have not evaluated or used any of these apps. They tend to be more related to children, but it is a starting point for people should they wish to explore this further. We have found a variety of apps that have been successful in supporting autistic adults in Kent, and we're going to go and have a look at some of those now. The Handy Calendar provides visual support. It assists with the concept of time and organising and planning. It helps with prioritisation and personal reminders. It can also help prompt with memory support, routines and structure, and the learning of new skills. And we're going to look at that one a little bit later on. Can Plan is another app that promotes independence and builds confidence by supporting people with cognitive challenges to complete tasks successfully. So virtually any activity can be broken into a sequence of easy to follow steps, and that can be illustrated by photographs and reinforced with optional text and audio. It schedules and reminds the user to ensure each task gets done on time. Brain in Hand can support individuals to remember activities. It can assist to reduce anxiety and problem solve and help feel that person, make them feel supported. So apps can be used alongside other visual prompts, but it's really important to note, and a key point here, that every autistic person is an individual, and what works for one may not always be the solution for another. Now, some apps have a cost to them, and some are free, and some are available on both Apple and Android. Some offer free trials and help with setting up. Our next slide, this one, will look at apps that support well-being. Wiser is research-backed and uses techniques of CBT, yoga and meditation to support individuals with stress, anxiety, sleep loss, and a whole range of other mental health and wellness needs. Calm is an app used for meditation and sleep. Catch It supports people to understand their moods through the use of an ongoing diary. Sidekick is a social health game. It's designed to motivate and engage individuals towards a healthy lifestyle. It allows people to communicate and collaborate and compete with their friends and their colleagues whilst improving their lifestyle. Wobot supports users to think about or think through situations with a step-by-step guidance from this little robot, who uses a cognitive behavioural therapy as a tool to learn about yourself. Distract is for those who are concerned about self-harming and those who may feel suicidal. Linkus supports people to track their life and learn about what works for them and what doesn't. So this slide is going to look at the Handy Calendar app, which we have been using quite successfully in supporting some of our clients. It can prompt individuals with alarms, messages, visual checklists, and it can also be read by the individual or spoken to the person. The individual may wish to give consent to another person who supports them to have access to their calendar. So that could be a carer, a support worker, a parent, or a support provider. And they can add prompts and appointments and work together with that person remotely and work on tasks that that person may be wishing to learn. For example, you can see on the very far right-hand side the photograph of the washing machine with the washing powder and the fabric conditioner. We have used a series of photographs which are relevant to the individual, being that these are their own photographs of their washing machine, etc., and uploaded these in a sequence as to how that task needs to be carried out. Our research has evidenced the benefits of service user having photographs of their own objects. So it's very clear, it's concrete, and they know what they're looking for. And it's much easier, they have informed us, to process that information. So the person in this situation may require prompting 5 or 10 minutes prior to doing the laundry. That can be done through Handy Calendar. The person may then be required to be prompted when the laundry cycle has finished in order to take it out and complete the task by hanging out the washing or putting it in the tumble dryer. We've learned in the past that this has been particularly helpful because if we have supported someone to learn to do the laundry, it might mean that they do need that extra prompt and that we don't go back a week later and it's still in the washing machine. John found using the Handy Calendar really helpful by using a traffic light system to support him in managing his anxiety. For example, we coded his activities in red that were anxiety provoking, activities in green that he found calming, and activities in amber that were the activities he needed to complete during the day. John was encouraged to have a balance of activities and to ensure that when he had a red activity programmed within his day, that he should have at least one green activity either side. This worked well for John, enabling him to better manage his anxiety and his mental health. This app is also available to download for a free trial, and the details are at the bottom of the slide should anyone wish to explore this further. Alternatively, I can be contacted and provide anybody with the direct contact in their area if they prefer to email me. This slide shows another communication example from Abilia. Details again are at the bottom of the slide should anyone wish to explore this further. The Memo Day Planner has been useful for us in providing structure and routine for families. As mentioned earlier, we work with parents who are autistic but may have autistic children. The Memo Day Planner is an electronic whiteboard that counts down time. So the individual can see exactly what's happening at what time and for how long that task will take. This has been particularly useful for individuals who struggle to transition from one task to the next, and also individuals that struggle with change and need a high level of structure and routine. And this is so that they can predict and cope with their day. Elizabeth, an autistic mum, reported to us that she found this incredibly helpful when trying to manage her son's behaviour, in that he often used to wake the whole of the household up very early on in the morning. She reported that once the Memo Day Planner was in place and he had structure and routine, he started to come downstairs in the morning, and she very kindly sent us this photograph and allowed us to share it. And we can see from here that she's told us that her child is sitting waiting for the blue lights to go out and turn red, which meant that it was 7 a.m. and then he was allowed to go back upstairs and wake up his siblings. We are really keen to support our carers who provide substantial support to autistic people. And this is one of the resources that I wanted to ensure that we included in the presentation, so that should you be caring for someone who is over the age of 18, you can contact your local carer organisation. I have split the areas of Kent into 3 different categories with the carers agencies that are supporting in those areas. There's also information here for carers, carers assessment fact sheet, and also a carers information book that you can download through these links. There's also some further reading attached to the presentation, and we've collated these together based on what our service users say to us around information and books that have been particularly helpful to them whilst we've been working with them. So there are 2 pages here of resources. And this brings us to our questions. So if there are any questions, if you could post them up into the chat area. So I've got a question here. Are we going to send the presentation out so we can look at the slides in more depth? Yes, the presentation is available to everybody, and also to everybody that have requested for these to be sent to them because they can't be here today. Someone has asked here, can we use the Wheel of Life instead of the Spectrum Star? I'm guessing where the Spectrum Star is a licensed product, the Wheel of Life is totally free and may be a wonderful resource for support workers that don't have or people that don't have the money to get a license in the community. It's a practical solution to sit down and work with people. I don't see any problem with using the Wheel of Life, and certainly it can identify what that person really wants to achieve. So we have the Kent Autistic Trust here, that is a charity that also offers good support groups for families of autistic adults. There is the link on the resources for the Kent Autistic Trust, should you wish to explore that further. Thank you for that, Emily. We've got a question here. Have you had to work with sensory needs in addition to autism, and are there any apps for this purpose? We do a lot of work around sensory, which involves a whole lot of assessments to identify people's sensory differences and any equipment that they may need as a result. There may be apps out there. Everybody, as I said before, is an individual, but in terms of sensory, there's lots of mindfulness apps. It's about exploring what that person can cope with. But we base our recommendations and trials on a sensory profile that we complete. We have, do you know of any support for siblings and carers over the age of 18? There are the carers. I would get in touch with the local carers support on the webinar, and explore what's available in your area. They would have a list of resources. There's also young carers. So if people are under the age of 18 and they're caring for somebody, there are resources there for young carers as well. The National Autistic Society also has some useful information for siblings, and Jacqueline Bray has sent that information across. Do we have any more questions? Have I missed any?
Got a hand up.
Oh, hello, Matthew.
I think Sue's got a hand up. All right. Sue Urchin.
Okay. Hi. Hello, Sandra. It's Sue.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. I work with Sandra quite closely with the enablement team, and I just wanted to touch in for, I've got a daughter on the spectrum myself, so I'm kind of parent and work with the autistic client group as well. And the Can Plan app that Sandra mentioned is absolutely brilliant. I've used that quite a lot because a lot of the people we work with, it's having that really personalized step-by-step instructions of how to do something, which are absolutely brilliant because you can make it personal using photographs, like Sandra explained, you know, of their kitchen or their washing machine or whatever it might be that you're trying to help that person with their independent living skills. And you know, you can just, there are easy instructions or writing things down, but with that added photograph and making it really personalized and step by step. And just because somebody's learned to use a washing machine in one household, that doesn't mean that they can bring that forward and use any washing machine. They can't adapt to that. It's linked to context blindness. And I think having it a really personalized app like that is really useful, and it's very, very easy to use. I'm not very hot on technology, but it's really simple to use and a really good app. So the Can Plan app, I just wanted to sort of reiterate what Sandra said, really. So that's my little bit there. Thank you, Sandra. That's really good.
Thank you, Sue. And the Can Plan app, I do know, is free. Now, I'm not sure if that's available on, I know it's available on Apple, but I'm not sure if it's available on Android. That would be something you need to check out, but that is totally free. We would be really interested on any feedback about the presentation, particularly if there is any other subject matters that would help support you to continue to support autistic adults. This is the very first webinar that we've done, but we are looking at doing another one on social skills as soon as we can get that one together. And then we'll be emailing that those invites out. But if there's anything particular that you may like to know more about, and we have a common theme with that, then we could look at maybe doing some more. So I'd appreciate any feedback that that you may have. I've got a message here. Can we send on the presentation to our staff once you send it through? We are more than happy that you share this information. We're about giving out information, advice and guidance always. If somebody finds any of this beneficial, then that's a good thing. So please feel free to share it.
Hi, Sandra. I just want to say it's brilliant presentation. Thanks. And for me, it's like nearly every client we see has a sensory need, and not necessarily managing it well because they don't always understand it themselves about the differences in the way they present their sensory preferences and their strengths and integration. I know in the ideal world we'd have people like you, OTs, specialist OTs, doing these sensory assessments, but
no evidence.
we're never going to have enough people, are we, to do that ever in the world. So is there anything people can do to, or is it the subject of a future webinar maybe, to help people to better understand their sensory needs when there isn't a sensory assessment available?
Yes, I do think that sensory is a huge part for many of our autistic adults, and definitely worth thinking about a webinar, and also interoception, which is one of the biggest thing being talked about at the moment. So in the autism world, where people need to understand and have more awareness around their internal body senses.
Question.
Cool. I think Belinda's got a hand up.
I think we've got some interference from your microphone, Matt, in background noise.
So I just said someone's got a hand up.
Yeah. Hello, Belinda.
Hello, Sandra. Belinda Swain here, a fellow OT working in West Kent with the Disabled Children's team. Soon, hopefully, to be working with older young people as well. I was wondering, I have checked the Can Plan app, and it is only available on Apple from iTunes. Is there a suitable alternative to the our Can Plan app?
We can only talk about the ones that we've worked with our service users with and evaluated, or they've evaluated for us. But we're looking at apps all of the time. What I would recommend is that you look at Orca, because they do evaluate apps and they are evaluated by the people that use them themselves, and that as practitioners we have to be very careful that the apps that we are looking at are going to be here today and not gone tomorrow, and that they are so it gives us some consistency to work with that client with, and that we're giving them up-to-date information. So I would say if there isn't something here that maybe might meet somebody's needs, that maybe be the first place I'd look on the Orca website.
Yeah, because not everyone has an iPhone, and I have a personal interest in that as well, because I too have a autistic grandchild, so I'm keen in supporting them whilst I'm still, while I can. Okay, lovely. Thank you.
And I was just going to say that Orca will also filter out Android and Apple, and it filters into conditions, and you can really filter it down to what you're looking for. So it's a really helpful organisation, and that's free for anyone to look up. So I'd use that as a starting point.
Smashing. Thank you very much.
We've got here, have we trialled Headspace? We have trialled Headspace and some of our clients have found that quite useful. Obviously, we couldn't talk about all of them today, but we've picked out some of the general ones that, or popular ones that people have found useful. But Headspace is one that we've tried, yes. Something else here. Someone's put something up here, that's Carol, isn't it, about apps that can have free trials and people forgetting to cancel them. We're working very closely with 2 companies that offer free trials, and may sometimes extend that for us if we're working with someone quite intensely to see if that particular app works. And then we help them to set it up, because it's really important to us that the person is happy with using that particular app and it works for them. We're not about introducing technology or replacing technology with support packages. Sometimes they work alongside a package. Sometimes it reduces the need for maybe the amount of hours that someone might have, and other people might prefer just to have the app. So it's very personalised. We've got something about privacy and data. That's from Adam. Orca take that very seriously when they evaluate apps, and they look into the privacy aspect. I would welcome that people look into that site and have a read up about how they evaluate, and they segregate them into different levels. So I would recommend that you have a look at that. Okay. And also, Sue's made a very good point that if we are trialing a app, we would use the reminder prompt within their calendar to prompt them that their app is coming to the trial's coming to an end, so that would then prompt them to cancel the trial or pay for it if they're going to carry on. I think we've got anything else up there. Well, I think we're almost bang on time. So I'd like to really thank you all for listening in today and for participating in the questions. I hope that you are able to take something away with you today to trial and to explore with those people you are supporting. And once again, thank you so much for the comments and for the valuable feedback that we really do appreciate as to a way forward for any future webinars. So with that being said, I don't think we have any more questions at all. So we're finished there and I'll end the recording. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you.
Fun, and I'm assuming
Thank you.
this
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you. Bye.